So can you remember till what verse we have discussed last week?
So sorry, Prabhuji, I'm not at the desk. One of those days today.
No, that's okay, Mani. That's all right. So I remember we are in the 7th chapter. I'll just open it 1 second.
I had my book open to text 25.
Okay.
Oh, awesome. Thank you, Gary Prabhuji.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. So we discussed till text 26 last time. So we'll start from text 27 today. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanachalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubheva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we'll be discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 7th chapter, text number 27 onwards. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Vetitam Drona Putrasya Brahmam Astram Pradarshitam Naivasau Veda Samharam Pranabadha Upasthite. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Know from me that this is the act of the son of Drona. He has thrown the hymns of nuclear energy, Brahmastra, and he does not know how to retract the glare. He has helplessly done this, being afraid of imminent death." So here, as we discussed last week, Dronacharya had taught Ashwatthama the hymns of Brahmastra, but he did not teach him how to retract it. Just like, the people generally think Brahmastra is nothing but an arrow. But arrow, once you release from the bow, it cannot be retrieved back. You cannot retract it before it hits the target. Okay. But in the case of Brahmastra, it can be, retracted or withdrawn before it hits the target. So this was known to Arjun, but not to Ashwatthama. Though Arjun learned that from Dronacharya, and Ashwatthama, being the son of Dronacharya, should have also known it. But Dronacharya did not teach that art or that science to Ashwatthama. He taught only to Arjun. So this Brahmastra is actually considered kind of an invincible weapon. Like modern times, people think, nuclear weapon is invincible. So this is kind of a nuclear weapon, you can say, but it's much, much more powerful and million times more precise than the nuclear bomb or nuclear weapons. Like, nuclear weapons, if you want to kill only one person, it will be very difficult. You'll hit a missile that I want to kill only this particular person. So missile will destroy the person, but destroy if anyone around there also is there. Just like, it could even destroy the whole city, people all around it. But Brahmastra is not like that. Brahmastra is so precise as we'll be seeing in the forthcoming verses as well. Even if somebody casts Brahmastra to the child in the womb, the child in the womb will be killed, but mother will have no harm. She will be completely unharmed. Only the child will be killed. So this is the nature of Brahmastra. This is much, much more subtler and precise. So we may be puffed up, people in modern times, especially, the American army or the scientists may be puffed up that, oh, we are having nuclear weapons, or Russians similarly may be very much proud that we have, nuclear weapons. But these are all, insignificant compared to the Brahmastra. They're like the 10th class. Brahmastra is actually the first class weapon. And yet, in modern time, people think, oh, we are very advanced. We are much, much more advanced than people in the past. People in the past used to be very primitive, but that's not the fact. Here we see from the Srimad Bhagavatam, history of 5,000 years back recorded that Ashwatthama, a Brahmana, had access to much, much more sophisticated weapons known as Brahmastra. It's actually very interesting. Even Hitler, he was aware of these, weapons in the Vedas, and he therefore took the study of the Vedas. Hitler was a great, follower of the Vedic text. He was studying the Vedas to find out this Brahmastra weapon. But to the world's good fortune, he couldn't find that Brahmastra weapon, him. It is there somewhere in the Vedas, but he couldn't find it. It was actually world's good fortune. So the Brahmastra is actually a much, much more sophisticated and subtle astra, or the weapon, which is not known to the modern world. In text 28, Krishna says, Nahi asyanyatmam kinchit astram pratya vakarshanam jahi astra teja unnandham astra gyohi astra tejasa. O Arjun, only another Brahmastra can counteract this weapon. Since you are expert in the military science, subdue this weapon's glare with the power of your own weapon. So now this is the kind of technology people knew in the past. So though Brahmastra is the most powerful weapon, millions of times more powerful than nuclear bomb, yet, nuclear bomb, once a person drops a nuclear bomb, it cannot be neutralized by another nuclear bomb or the atom bomb. The modern science does not have that kind of arrangement. But here Arjuna is being informed by Krishna that this sophisticated, this powerful weapon, even though apparently invincible, can be counteracted by a similar weapon like that. Actually, in the Vedas, you'll find, even in the Purana, you'll find a lot of descriptions. Different kinds of weapons. Here we are only hearing about, atomic bombs or missiles nowadays. They're all fiery weapons. Modern, warfare doesn't know any weapon, other than the fiery weapons. Now, of course, they also have biological weapons, but that's all they know. But in the Purana, you'll find so many different kinds of weapons. The weapon of, for example, the weapon of water. So a warrior, if he releases the Varuna Astra, or the watery weapon, will bring so much torrents of rains completely, troubling the opposing army, wash away the entire army of the enemies. Similarly, there's also the weapon called mountain weapon. So if somebody releases the rain weapons, it was counteracted by the mountain weapon. The mountain acts as the umbrella and also, can stop the rains from marching forward. Similarly, the fiery weapon was counteracted by the watery weapon. Watery weapon was counteracted by the mountain weapon. The wind weapon was counteracted by the mountain weapon. So in this way, different kinds of weapons used to be there, which are not known to the modern science. They are completely unknown. So here Arjuna is being advised by Krishna to counteract this Brahmastra by using another Brahmastra. The text 29. Suta uvacha Shrutva Bhagavata Proktam Falguna Paraviraha Sprishtvapastam Parikramya Brahmam Brahmastram Sandade. So the Goswami said, hearing this from personality of Godhead, Arjuna touched the water of purification, and after circumambulating Lord Krishna, he cast his Brahmastra weapon to counteract the other one. Now this is actually a very interesting verse. The situation which had arrived in front of Arjuna is a very urgent situation. Arjuna was seeing Brahmastra approaching him very fast. And yet, after understanding from Krishna that it's the Brahmastra which is coming to kill Arjuna, Arjuna did not neglect two things here. He touched the water for purification, and he circumambulated Krishna first. Krishna was sitting on his chariot, but Arjuna, he went around Krishna, circumambulated once around Krishna after washing his hands, and then only he cast his Brahmastra. Now, what can be more urgent situation and desperate situation than a deadly weapon approaching Arjuna? And nowadays, even sometimes sadhaka devotee, practicing devotee, they say, oh, Prabhu, I'm so busy. I'm so much occupied. I have so many urgent things to take care of. So many important and urgent things to take care of. What was more important and urgent than counteracting the Brahmastra? And yet, Arjuna purified himself first, and then circumambulated Krishna, and then only he cast his Brahmastra. So this is the lesson from the Arjuna's, character. We can see this lesson, exemplary behavior of Arjuna, that even though in a desperate situation, he never failed to purify himself and never forgot to recognize Krishna's presence in his life. So similarly for us, it's actually very crucial and important. In our sadhana, bhakti, we may have many times some desperate situation, some very urgent and desperate situation may appear. But we should never ever give up the process of purification. That is, purifying our consciousness by the association of Vaishnavas. And we should never ever forget, our process of taking shelter of Krishna's holy name, chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. That should always be our priority. So this is the sum and substance of this particular verse. Text 38. Samhatyanyoyanam ubhayos Tejasi Shara Samvrite Avritya Rodasi Kham Cha Vabradhatirka Vahanivat. When the rays of the two Brahmas are combined, a great circle of fire, like the disk of the sun, covered all outer space in the whole firmament of planets. So here we are seeing the power of Brahmastra. Because one Brahmastra was coming only to kill Arjuna. But when Arjuna released another Brahmastra, so the two Brahmastras collided. And when they collided, it created a great circle of fire. It was just like the disk of the sun. Such a huge circle of fire. Sun is, of course, very, very far from the earth. But this sun was right on the surface of the earth. And this is indicating the modern atomic bombs or nuclear bombs or missiles, no matter what kind of weapons modern warfare may have, but they are all insignificant. This is the power of Brahmastra. Text 31. Drishtvaastra tejastu tayos trilokan pradahan mahat dahyamana praja sarva samvartakam amam sata. All the population of the three worlds was scorched by the combined heat of the weapons. Everyone was reminded of Samvartaka fire, which takes place at the time of annihilation. So, people in higher planetary system and people even in lower planetary system, they are actually much, much more intelligent than the human beings. It's only in the modern times the human beings are so foolish, so ignorant that they think that there's no life on other planets, first of all. No. And whatever they have is actually the topmost or the best. But that's not the fact. From here in this course, we see people all over the three worlds, when they were scorched by the heat of these two Brahmastras, they were reminded of the fire of Samvartaka. What is this fire of Samvartaka? People all over the universe knew the fire of Samvartaka. But if you just walk on the street and ask anyone, do you know what is fire of Samvartaka? They will start instantly Googling, because most of people don't know what is Samvartaka fire. Samvartaka fire is the fire which is produced at the time of cosmic annihilation. And this fire emanates from the bottom of the universe, from the mouth of Anantashesha. And that fire is so huge because it emanates from the bottom of the universe, and the flames are all carried up by the wind, heavy winds flowing from the bottom. It's just like, the blacksmith's forge, So the flame is coming out from the mouth of Anantashesha, but the huge, tremendous wind which carries the flame throughout the universe. Srimad Bhagavatam explains, the whole shell of the universe appears like the burning cow dung. I don't know how many of you have seen the burning cow dung, or the burning piece of wood. If you take a burning piece of wood, you take a ball of wood and put it in the fire. When it's actually burning full-fledged, how it appears, that's how the whole universe appears at the time of cosmic annihilation. So in this way, the whole universe is destroyed from time to time. That is called pralaya. Pralaya means the cosmic annihilation. But there are different kinds of pralayas: namitic pralaya, total pralaya, or continuous pralaya. There are different kinds of pralayas, but at the time of ultimate annihilation, and the whole universe is actually destroyed. That time, the fire which is emanating from the mouth of Anantashesha is called Samvartaka fire. So that fire is capable of burning the entire universe to ashes without any exception. Nobody remains. Nothing remains. Everything gets burned to ashes. So people were reminded of that Samvartaka fire. There are two things. One is Samvartaka fire and the other is called Samvartaka clouds. So what happens at the time of annihilation is, first and foremost thing happens is, first there is a rain for 100 years. Actually, first there is no rain for 100 years. Everything, the sun becomes 12 times hot than it currently is. So the sun extracts all the water from all the bodies. From every living entity, the sun extracts away all the water. So no water remains on the surface of earth. At the same time, the fire is, burning from the bottom of the universe. It actually burns everything. So when everything is burned, then there's a rain for 100 years. So first there is no water and there's scorching heat of the sun and practically everything burns to ashes. But then we know there are life also in the fire exists. So then there's a rain for 100 years. Life in the water, everything is destroyed. Only the life in the fire may remain. But then there is a rain for 100 years and everything gets drowned. The whole universe is drowned into, and it becomes a one universal ocean. In this way, everything is destroyed. So that water, that clouds which actually pour the rain is called Samvartaka clouds. And the fire that emanates from the mouth of Anantashesha is called Samvartaka fire. So people were reminded of Samvartaka fire by the fire of the two Brahmastras combined together was equally powerful like Samvartaka fire. Prajopadravam alakshya lokavati karam chatam matam cha vasudevasya sanghara dvayam. Thus, seeing the disturbance of the general populace and imminent destruction of the planets, Arjuna at once retracted both Brahmastra weapons as Lord Krishna desired. So as Krishna had advised Arjuna that you first use your Brahmastra and withdraw both the Brahmastras. So that's what Arjuna did here. He used his Brahmastra to stop the Brahmastra which was approaching him and then retrieve both the Brahmastras. In text 33. Tata asadya tarasa darunam gautami sutam babandamarsha tamraksha pashum rashannaya yatha. Arjun, his eyes blazing in anger like two red balls of copper, dexterously arrested the son of Gautami and bound him with ropes like an animal. So Ashwatthama was, after Arjun retrieved both the Brahmastras, he actually arrested Ashwatthama. And here especially the eyes of Arjun are actually referred as Tamra Aksha. Amrisha Tamra Aksha. So his eyes were like copper red hot. When the copper becomes red hot, the texture that is visible in that red hot copper, was actually visible in eyes of Arjun, because he was very angry. In other words, he was very angry. So after retrieving both the Brahmastras, Arjun arrested Ashwatthama. Shibraya Nishantam Rajva Badvaru Ripun Balat Praharjunam Prakupito Bhagavan Ambujekshana. After binding Ashwatthama, Arjun wanted to take him to the military camp. The personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, looking on with his lotus eyes, spoke to Arjun in an angry mood. Now, here, the most significant thing is Krishna is also in angry mood. And Arjun was also angry. But Krishna's eyes are described as, Ambuja Akshana. Ambuja Akshana means, Ambuja means lotus and Akshana means eyes. So although Krishna was also very angry, but his eyes are still described as lotus eyes. Whereas Arjun's eyes are referred as, tamra, like a red hot copper. So this is the difference. The angry mood of Arjun and the angry mood of Lord, they are not actually on the same level. So from this we understand this lesson that even when Krishna is apparently punishing a living entity, for example, say for example, Arjuna was also killing a lot of soldiers on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and Krishna may also kill many demons. But there is a difference. A demon killed by Krishna is liberated, immediately goes to the spiritual realm. But that's on the other side, if somebody else kills the ordinary living entity, that's not going to be the case. So similarly, because Arjun was also angry, his eyes became, expressing the anger, whereas Krishna's eyes remain as lotus eyes. Krishna is not affected by the modes of material nature. The living entity can be affected by the three modes of material nature, but the Supreme Lord can never be affected by the three modes of material nature. Okay, I will discuss one more verse and then we'll stop. Menam partharsit tratum brahma bandhum imam jahi yosav anagasa suttan avadhin nishibalakan. Lord Shri Krishna said, "O Arjun, you should not show mercy by releasing this relative of Brahmana, Brahma Bandhu, for he has killed innocent boys in their sleep." So here Krishna is actually is referring Ashwatthama as Brahma Bandhu. So Ashwatthama is not referred as Brahmana, but he is referred as Brahma Bandhu. Brahma Bandhu Imam Jahi. So Arjun, you should not show any mercy to this Brahma Bandhu. So Arjun is advised to punish Ashwatthama. It's actually, this is a whole episode is very interesting episode. We'll see in the forthcoming verses. Arjun is being tested by Krishna here. So Krishna is telling that you should not show any mercy to him because he has killed the innocent boys in their sleeping state. If a person goes and kills the small, if the young boys in the sleeping state without any fault of them, then that person should not be shown any mercy. He should be given severe punishment. So Krishna is telling Arjuna that he does not deserve any mercy. He should be punished. And he is the Brahma Bandhu. Brahma Bandhu means a person who has, fallen from the qualification or his social status of a Brahmana. He's called Brahma Bandhu. So Krishna is advising Arjuna that he should not show any mercy, but he should punish him. I think we'll stop here. Text 36 onwards, we will discuss next week. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So, the Kartika Purnima is tomorrow night, and tomorrow late midnight, like early hours of Friday, is the lunar eclipse.
Okay.
So can you tell us, Prabhuji, because tomorrow is an important day for us Vaishnavas, Tulsi Vivah, and then the same night, so can we go ahead and do our, a puja in the evening, or
Yes,
please advise
Mataji.
about that.
As long as the eclipse is not current when you're doing the puja, that's perfectly fine. And preferably, maybe a couple of hours before eclipse, we should put the deities and everything to rest. So that is the idea. Maybe a couple of hours before the eclipse actually begins or are visible in your area. That's more important. So not just eclipse happening, eclipse may be happening anywhere in the world, but before it's visible in your area, 2 hours before that, we should stop eating, drinking, preferably stop eating at least, and drinking possibly, and then put the deities to rest. No cooking should be done. No. So if you are having Tulsi Shaligram Vivaha, that can be done, before at least couple of hours, 2-3 hours before the eclipse begins.
Yeah, it's midnight, Prabhuji. Midnight, I think late midnight till early hours. I don't know if West Coast has it or not.
I think yes, West Coast will have little later then.
Yeah. So, okay, take care, Prabhuji.
Maybe earlier, actually. Maybe earlier.
I think maybe it's around 11-ish, I think, for West Coast, 11 or 10:30, something like that, I think.
It will be a little earlier for West Coast because it begins on the West Coast and then comes to East Coast.
नहीं प्रभुजी हमारे को पहले आता है ना East Coast and then comes to West.
Because for you it will be midnight, right?
Yeah.
It will be later for you. Okay.
Yeah, till early hours we have early morning Friday. Okay, take care, Prabhuji.
Sure, Manthani. Hari Bol.
Thank you, Prabhuji.